What if I said that you would be lucky to get 15 FPS in games with this $30,000 GPU? A lot of tech experts will say it's just not built for it and close the conversation there. But in this video, I will be explaining what exactly makes this 4090 a gaming GPU and this H100 a server GPU. While it is true that the H100 is definitely not made for gaming, the reason isn't just drivers. It comes down to the physical silicon architecture, specifically the ROPs, the floating point precision, and the memory latency. The first major bottleneck is the ROPs, which stands for Raster Operations Pipeline. To understand this, you need to understand how a frame is made. The GPU calculates the geometry and lighting, but the final step is to actually write that color data to the specific pixels in the memory buffer that your monitor reads. That writing process is handled by the ROPs. The RTX 4090 is designed to output 4K video at high refresh rates, so NVIDIA gave it 176 ROPs. It has a massive capacity to push pixel data. The H100, however, is a data center card. It is designed to process numbers, not images. It doesn't need to write pixels to a screen. Because of this, NVIDIA physically removed almost all the ROPs to save space on the silicon die. The H100 has only about 24 ROPs. So, even if the H100 calculates the game physics instantly, it physically lacks the hardware pipeline to output the final visual image. The second issue is the type of math the cores are designed for. You'll often hear the terms FP32 and FP64. FP stands for floating point, which is simply how computers represent decimal numbers. FP32 is single precision. It holds 32 bits of data and is accurate to about 7 decimal places. This is the standard for gaming. 3D coordinates and lighting don't need infinite precision, they just need to be fast. FP64 is double precision. It holds 64 bits of data and is accurate to about 16 decimal places. This is essential for scientific simulations like modeling weather patterns or nuclear physics, where a tiny error at the 10th decimal place can ruin the entire calculation. Here is the problem. FP64 cores are physically larger and more expensive to manufacture. The H100 is packed with these massive FP64 cores because that is what scientists need. But modern games run almost entirely on FP32. They cannot utilize the FP64 hardware. So when you run a game on an H100, a huge portion of that expensive silicon is sitting idle, unable to process the game data, while the smaller FP32 section is overwhelmed. Finally, we have the memory architecture. The H100 uses HBM, or high bandwidth memory, while gaming cards use GDDR6X. The difference here is between bandwidth and latency. HBM achieves massive bandwidth by having a very wide bus, meaning it can move thousands of bits of data in a single clock cycle. However, it runs at a lower frequency. It is designed to stream massive, continuous datasets like a large language model. Gaming data is different. It is random and erratic. As you play, the GPU needs to quickly fetch small chunks of data textures, shaders, geometry from random locations in memory. For this, you need low latency and high clock speeds, which is exactly what GDDR6X provides. The H100's memory is optimized for throughput, meaning total volume, not response time. In gaming, that slow response time results in stuttering and low frame rates, even if the total bandwidth is higher. So, the H100 isn't failing because it's weak. It's failing because of specialization. NVIDIA has a limited amount of space on a silicon wafer. To create the ultimate AI and scientific processor, they had to sacrifice the ROPs and the memory controllers that make gaming possible. It feels wrong to call these graphics processing units because they aren't processing graphics in the first place. If you want to see more technical breakdowns on how hardware actually works, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.